Hello everybody, hope you're doing okay. Welcome to a place called Seal in Surrey on a rather wet and grey Saturday afternoon. I thought I would use this opportunity to test out some outsoles. Now here's one for the Novablast 3, which is generally considered to be a rather poor one. So I've then done a little circuit. I'm going to run around it and hope I don't fall over. And I'm also going to try in the Pegasus 39, which is generally considered to have a reasonable outsole. The Adios 7, which is generally also considered to have a good one because of the continental rubber. And also the Endorphin Speed 3, which generally isn't considered to be the best of outsoles, is it? So I can compare these four shoes, see which ones I managed to stay upright in, and tell you which ones I think is actually best for the grip, and indeed if it even matters. So here are all the shoes with the outsoles. This is Endorphin Speed 3 here. It's quite a sort of a smooth surface. I've been a bit worn at the top there, so I'm not expecting that one to be great. The Pegasus 39 has got a nice sort of waffle outsole, so I'm hoping that to be a bit better. The continental rubber here in the Adios 7 looks quite smooth, but I also think that's a good one. And the Novablast 3, quite a smooth surface here, and so again I'm not expecting this one to be brilliant, but let's see if I can manage to stay upright. Okay, so for this sort of test I thought I'd better find a nice little hill. So here's one called School Hill on this little loop. So I don't know if you can see that, but that is looking quite an uninviting climb. So I'm going to run, so I aim to run back down here. There's a lot of leaves on the ground. So I think first of all what I do is I go up to the top of this hill and just do a sort of a slide test coming down, just at walking speed, to see how it feels. Okay, the slide test going down in the Novablast 3 is a bit sketchy, so I'm not really looking forward to this one. Okay, so if you want to run down a hill, you first need to run up a hill. So let's run up this hill on the main road, and then I'll take a turning right at the end. It's like a little triangle, this place, so I'll see how the grip's like on an uphill bit, and then we'll see if we can get down this hill without falling over. Okay, so going uphill in the Novablast 3, not too bad actually, but we're not going very fast. Okay, we're coming onto the potentially sketchy downhill bit. To be fair, it wasn't too bad. I was a little bit cautious, but we'll take that one. Okay, so I think what I'll do is I'll run down this downhill bit and I'll time the descent. Not really going to be a race, but just want to see what sort of speeds that we get and whether there's any difference between any of the shoes. Okay, it's 19.77 seconds in the Novablast 3. Bit sketchy for sure, but it wasn't too bad, not as bad as I thought. I think the difficulty was actually right at the end here. There's a lot of wet leaves. It's actually stopping and not just sort of slamming out into the road with the traffic. Let's move on now to the Adios 7, see how if you get on any better. Okay, slide test in the Adios 7. Definitely feel a bit more grippier than the Novablast 3, but not entirely convincing, I would say. And so much for white shoes. Now I've got rather black at the top there, haven't I? Okay, testing the Adios 7 done. I think they're slightly more grippy than the Novablast 3, but equally so much more firmer. Actually quite uncomfortable in comparison, actually. So I did two runs down the hill. One was slightly slower than the Novablast 3, one was slightly quicker. So I think there's an element of how much I was actually trying than the grip. But yeah, I didn't fall over in any of them so far. But yeah, in terms of like, a daily trainer, and I think the Adios 7 is a bit of a stretch, if you like, a bit of nice cushion under your feet, because this was really firm in comparison. Right, let's go into the Pegasus 39 now and see how we go with them. Okay, slide test in the Pegasus 39. Not too bad. I'd say that they're better than the Novablast 3 from the slide test, but quite similar to the Adios 7. And we managed to survive without getting these too wet this time. Okay, two downhill runs of the Pegasus 39 done. One was slightly slower than the Novablast 3, and one was actually the fastest of all of them so far. I think there's an element of actually knowing the circuit, as it were, and knowing which path to take. I would say of the three shoes, the Pegasus 39 was marginally better than the Novablast 3. But in terms of comfort, I think the Novablast 3 wins on comfort. The next comes the Pegasus 39, slightly a firmer shoe, and the Adios 7, very firm shoe altogether. So not really a daily trainer. I think people like Ed Budd sort of say it's a daily trainer, but really it's a racing shoe. It always has been. So I took it out because it was a Adidas shoe with a continental outsole. Okay, Endorphin Speed 3 to finish this off. It's got a bit of a slick tread on this one, so interested to see if I make it down the hill in one piece. Okay, slide test Endorphin Speed 3. As expected, a bit sketchy. On a par with an Novablast 3, possibly actually worse. Let's see how it has to do when you're running downhill. And we kept the Endorphin Speed 3s rather white as well, thank goodness. Okay, the run's done the Endorphin Speed 3. I think of all the shoes, they felt the fastest, but there's an element of going down that downhill. I was really rocking back on the heels, almost like learned how to actually do it. So I think I'm going to put the Novablast 3s back on. For what it's worth, the fastest time so far was actually in the Pegasus 39. I'm not sure I'm going to read too much into that, so that's why I'm going to put the Novablast 3s on again, because in a way I thought they were the most slidiest shoe, and I want to sort of see if, having done a few more runs now, if they feel any better. Okay, slide test in the Novablast 3. I think of all the four, having put these back on again, these definitely are by far the worst. I think the next comes in Endorphin Speed 3, and I think there's a bit of a tie between the Peg 39 and Adios 7. Let's see how I do running downhill. Okay, the Novablast 3 done. I think I'm definitely learning how to run this hill, because I was rocking back my heels a bit for more stability, especially around the bend, and it was fine. Felt like if I didn't know the course, then it could be a bit more dicey. Right, let's take you down the last one with a point of view of my feet. Done. Always need the brakes there. Okay, all the test runs done. So what did I make of that? I think well, the most important thing about running downhill is to rock back on your heels and be a bit careful when you do so. I think of all those four shoes, interestingly I would say that the Novablast 3 was actually the most comfortable of them, which is a bit of a turn up for the books. The Adios 7 just felt like a brick when I put it on, just perhaps that it really is an out and out racing shoe. And the Pegasus 39, good compromise, slightly firmer feel than the Novablast 3, and a nice grippy outsole. And then the Endorphin Speed 3 probably felt the fastest of the shoes, but a bit dicey on the downhills, but it wasn't too bad. And interestingly, around the downhill splits, they're all about 18, 19 seconds, all about exactly the same, so can't really read too much into that. I think if you want me to rank them in order, I'd say the most grippy probably was the Pegasus 39, then the Adios 7, perhaps slightly marked down by the fact it didn't find it like as comfortable a shoe for that sort of thing. And then I would say the Endorphin Speed 3 and the Novablast 3. But as I said, each of those four, I ran the same speed downhill, didn't fall over, didn't really feel like I was ever going to. Just the Novablast 3 felt a bit slidey when I was going downhill. So I think if you're running somewhere you don't really know, you're not quite sure of the surface, just to be a bit more careful. But I think that's the acid test with any shoes really. If you're out running, you're not in a race, then just take it easy when you've got like a corner or a slippery bit. Okay, I hope you find this interesting. Which of these four shoes have you got? Do you find any problems with grip with any of them? Or do you sort of agree with my takeaway that, well, they're all basically okay, you just need to be careful if you're running downhill because you might slip over in anything really, although I didn't, of course. Okay, so I hope you found this interesting. Like and subscribe, and see you next one then. Bye!